My morning breakfast routine. Daily English conversations. In this video, you learn essential daily English vocabulary for breakfast routines and morning conversations. You'll master common expressions like I'm running late, grab a quick bite, brew coffee, and toast bread while following my chaotic morning that turned into the perfect experience. By the end, you'll handle any breakfast situation confidently in English. Panic moment. My name is Sarah, and I want to tell you about the morning that taught me the most important breakfast vocabulary in English. Started as a complete disaster but ended up being the best learning experience ever. It was Tuesday, March 15th, and I had the most important job interview of my life scheduled for 8:30 in the morning. My alarm was set for 6:45, which should have given me plenty of time to have a proper breakfast and get ready. But when I woke up, something felt wrong. The sunlight coming through my window seemed too bright for early morning. I grabbed my phone and my heart sank. The screen showed 7:45 in the morning. Oh no! I'm running late. I said out loud to my empty apartment. I'm running late is what we say in English when we don't have enough time to do everything we planned. I jumped out of bed and rushed to the kitchen. In English, when you move very quickly because you're in a hurry, we say you rush somewhere. I was definitely rushing that morning. I opened my refrigerator hoping to find something quick to eat, but it was almost empty. Just some leftover pizza from 3 days ago and a carton of milk that smelled suspicious. This is a disaster, I thought. How am I supposed to think clearly in an interview if I haven't eaten anything? In English, we often say, this is a disaster when everything goes wrong at the same time. Phone call solution. Just as I was staring hopelessly into my empty fridge, my phone started ringing. It was my mom calling. Good morning, sweetheart. Are you excited about your big interview today? My mom's cheerful voice came through the phone. Hi, Mom, I said, trying not to sound panicked. I'm actually having a bit of a crisis right now. I overslept and there's literally no food in my house. Oh, honey, you can't go to an important interview on an empty stomach, Mom said with concern in her voice. When we say someone has an empty stomach, we mean they haven't eaten anything and they're hungry. I know, but I don't have time to go to the store or a restaurant, I replied, opening my kitchen cabinets to see what I could find. What do you have in your pantry? Mom asked. Pantry is where we store dry foods like cereal, pasta, and canned goods. Let me see, I said, looking through my cabinets. I have some bread, a jar of peanut butter, instant coffee, and some eggs that might still be good. Perfect. You can make yourself a quick breakfast with those ingredients, Mom said encouragingly. Do you remember how I taught you to make the perfect breakfast when you were little? Sort of, I admitted. But I'm so nervous about the interview that I can't think straight. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll talk you through it step by step. First, let's start with coffee because you need caffeine to wake up your brain. Making the perfect coffee. Okay, Mom, I'm listening, I said, putting my phone on speaker so I could use both hands in the kitchen. First, fill your coffee maker with water, Mom instructed. How many cups of coffee do you want to make? Just 1 cup should be enough, I replied, measuring water into my coffee maker. In English, we say fill with water when we add water to something like a coffee maker, kettle, or pot. Good. Now add 1 tablespoon of ground coffee to the filter, Mom continued. Make sure you use ground coffee, not whole beans. I opened my container of coffee and scooped 1 tablespoon into the filter. A tablespoon is a measurement we use in cooking, and ground coffee means coffee beans that have been crushed into small pieces. Now press the brew button and let the coffee maker do its work, Mom said. While the coffee is brewing, we can prepare your food. Brewing is the word we use for making coffee. Coffee maker heats the water and passes it through the ground coffee to make the drink. The whole process usually takes about 5 minutes. I pressed the button and heard the familiar sound of the coffee maker starting to work. The smell of fresh coffee began to fill my kitchen, which always makes me feel more awake and alert. I can already smell the coffee brewing, I told Mom. It's making me feel less stressed about the interview. Coffee has that effect, Mom laughed. Now let's work on getting some protein and carbohydrates into your system. You need energy for your big day. The Scrambled Eggs Challenge. First, let's check if your eggs are still fresh, Mom said. Crack one egg into a small bowl and smell it. Fresh eggs don't have any bad odor. I took an egg from the carton and gently cracked it open. When you crack an egg, you break the shell carefully so the inside can come out. The egg looked normal and didn't smell bad. The egg seems fine, I reported to Mom. Excellent. Now crack 2 more eggs into the bowl and beat them with a fork, she instructed. When you beat eggs, you mix them quickly until the white and yellow parts combine. I cracked 2 more eggs and used a fork to beat them together. The mixture became pale yellow and slightly foamy. Now heat a small pan on medium heat and add a little butter, Mom continued. Medium heat means not too hot and not too cool. You don't want to cook the eggs too quickly. I placed my small frying pan on the stove and turned the heat to medium. Then I added a small piece of butter to the pan. The butter started to melt and sizzle slightly. When the butter is melted and the pan is warm, pour in your beaten eggs, Mom said. Then use a spatula to gently stir the eggs as they cook. I poured the egg mixture into the warm pan. It immediately started to set around the edges. Using my spatula, I gently stirred the eggs, pushing them from the edges toward the center. This is called making scrambled eggs, Mom explained. Keep stirring gently until the eggs are cooked but still soft and creamy. Don't let them get dry and rubbery. After about 3 minutes of gentle stirring, my scrambled eggs looked perfect. They were fluffy, creamy, and golden yellow. Toast situation. While your eggs are finishing, let's make some toast, Mom said. Toast is bread that's been heated until it's golden brown and crispy. I took 2 slices of bread from the loaf and put them in my toaster. How long should I toast the bread? I asked. Set the toaster to medium darkness, Mom replied. You want the toast to be golden brown, not too light and not burned. I adjusted the toaster setting and pressed down the lever. Toaster began heating the bread slices. While the bread is toasting, take your eggs off the heat, Mom instructed. Eggs continue cooking even after you turn off the stove, so it's better to remove them a little early. I turned off the stove burner and moved my pan of scrambled eggs to a cool burner. They looked perfectly cooked, not too wet and not too dry. Now spread some peanut butter on your toast when it's ready, Mom said. Peanut butter will give you protein and healthy fats that will keep you full during your interview. Toaster popped up with a cheerful ding, and my 2 slices of bread were perfectly golden brown. I took them out carefully because they were hot, and spread a generous layer of peanut butter on each slice. The peanut butter is melting slightly from the warm toast, I observed. It smells really good. Perfect, Mom said. Now you have a complete breakfast with protein from the eggs, carbohydrates from the toast, and healthy fats from the peanut butter. The final assembly. Now let's put everything together, Mom said. Pour your coffee into your favorite mug and add milk or sugar if you like. I poured the freshly brewed coffee into my large blue mug. Coffee was dark and aromatic. I added a splash of milk to make it lighter and stirred it with a spoon. I'm adding just a little milk to my coffee, I told Mom. I don't want it too sweet because I'm already nervous about the interview. Good thinking, Mom replied. Now put your scrambled eggs and toast on a plate and sit down to eat properly. Don't eat standing up in the kitchen. I scooped my fluffy scrambled eggs onto a clean plate next to my 2 pieces of peanut butter toast. Everything looked delicious and I realized how hungry I actually was. "This looks like a real breakfast," I said with relief. 20 minutes ago, I thought I would have to go to my interview hungry. "You see? You always have more options than you think," Mom said wisely. "Even when you think there's no food in the house, you can usually find ingredients to make something nutritious." I sat down at my small kitchen table and took my first bite of scrambled eggs. They were creamy and perfectly seasoned. Toast was crunchy and the peanut butter provided a nice contrast in texture. "This actually tastes really good," I said to Mom, who was still on the phone. I forgot how satisfying a homemade breakfast can be. "How's your coffee?" Mom asked while I was enjoying my breakfast. "It's perfect," I replied, taking a sip of the warm, milky coffee. "Just strong enough to wake me up, but not so strong that it makes me more nervous. You know, this is exactly the kind of breakfast I used to make for you before school when you were little," Mom said nostalgically. "Simple ingredients, but nutritious and filling." "I remember," I said, feeling more relaxed as I ate. "You always said that breakfast was the most important meal of the day." "It really is," Mom agreed. "Especially on important days like today. Your brain needs fuel to function properly, and protein helps you stay focused for longer periods." I took another bite of my peanut butter toast and realized that I was starting to feel much more confident about my interview. Sometimes when we're stressed, we forget to take care of basic needs like eating. "Mom, thank you so much for helping me," I said gratefully. I was in such a panic that I couldn't think clearly about what to do. "That's what mothers are for," she replied warmly. "But more importantly, you've learned that you can handle unexpected situations. You found a solution and executed it successfully." "You're right," I agreed, finishing my scrambled eggs. I turned a potential disaster into a perfectly good breakfast in less than 20 minutes. "And now you have energy for your interview and a good story to tell about problem-solving under pressure," Mom added with a laugh. Getting ready to leave. As I finished my last piece of toast, I looked at the clock on my kitchen wall. It was 8:10 in the morning, which meant I had exactly 20 minutes to get dressed and arrive at my interview. "I need to get ready to leave soon," I told Mom. "But I feel so much better now that I've eaten." "Good," Mom said. "Make sure you drink some water too. Coffee can be dehydrating and you want to feel your best." I filled a glass with water and drank it quickly. Dehydrating means that something removes water from your body, and it's important to drink water when you have coffee. "Should I pack any snacks for after the interview?" I asked Mom. "That's a good idea," she replied. "Why don't you grab a banana or an apple if you have one? Something light that you can eat if the interview runs long." I checked my fruit bowl and found one ripe banana. I put it in my purse along with my resume and other interview materials. "Perfect," I said. "Now I have everything I need for a successful day." "Remember," Mom said, "you've already proven this morning that you can handle unexpected challenges. That's exactly the kind of skill employers are looking for." I looked around my kitchen at the dishes I had used to make breakfast. Usually I would clean everything immediately, but today I decided to leave them for later. "I'll wash these dishes when I get home," I told Mom. "Right now I need to focus on getting dressed and leaving on time." Confidence boost. "You know what, Mom?" I said, feeling a sudden wave of confidence. "This morning actually taught me something important about myself." "What's that, sweetheart?" Mom asked. "I learned that I can think on my feet and solve problems even when I'm under pressure," I explained. 30 minutes ago I was panicking, but now I've made a delicious breakfast and I'm ready for my interview. "That's a wonderful realization," Mom said proudly. "And that's exactly the kind of attitude that will help you succeed in the interview." I took one last sip of my coffee and stood up from the table. The breakfast had given me energy, and the conversation with Mom had calmed my nerves. I actually feel excited about the interview now instead of terrified, I admitted. Having a good breakfast really does make a difference in how you feel. Absolutely, Mom agreed. When your body is well fed, your mind can focus on important things instead of worrying about being hungry. I walked to my bedroom to get dressed, carrying the phone with me so I could continue talking to Mom. "What are you going to wear?" Mom asked. "My navy blue suit with a white shirt," I replied, pulling the outfit from my closet. "It's professional but not too formal." "Perfect choice," Mom said. "You're going to do wonderfully today. You've already shown that you can handle unexpected situations with grace." Ready for success. 20 minutes later, I was dressed, confident, and ready to leave for my interview. My breakfast had been delicious and filling, and my conversation with Mom had reminded me that I was capable of handling any situation. "Thank you again, Mom," I said as I gathered my things. This morning could have been a disaster, but instead it became a great learning experience. "You're very welcome, sweetheart," Mom replied. "Now go show them what an amazing problem solver you are." I grabbed my purse, checked that I had my resume, and took one last look around my apartment. The breakfast dishes were still in the kitchen, but they would wait until later. "I'm leaving now," I announced. "Wish me luck." "You don't need luck," Mom said confidently. "You've got skills, preparation, and a good breakfast in your stomach. That's everything you need for success." As I walked to my car, I reflected on the morning's events. What had started as a panic-inducing crisis had turned into a perfect example of how to handle unexpected situations. I had learned that even when things seem impossible, there are usually solutions available if you stay calm and think creatively. Most importantly, I had learned that a good breakfast really can change your entire day. The job interview went wonderfully and I got the position. But more than that, I gained confidence in my ability to handle whatever life throws at me, starting with the most important meal of the day. Essential daily breakfast vocabulary. Let me explain the most important words and expressions we use when talking about breakfast and morning routines in English. When you wake up late and don't have enough time, we say, "I'm running late." This is a very common expression that means you're behind schedule and need to hurry. Brewing coffee means making coffee using hot water and ground coffee beans. You can brew coffee in a coffee maker, French press, or other devices. Process usually takes several minutes. When you crack an egg, you break the shell carefully so the contents can come out. This is usually done by tapping the egg on the edge of a bowl or counter. Scrambled eggs are eggs that have been beaten and cooked while stirring constantly. They should be soft, fluffy, and creamy, not dry or rubbery. Toast is bread that has been heated until it's golden brown and crispy. We make toast in a toaster or under a broiler. You can have light toast or dark toast depending on your preference. On an empty stomach means you haven't eaten anything and you're hungry. We often say you shouldn't take medicine or drink alcohol on an empty stomach. When you rush somewhere, you move quickly because you're in a hurry or late. For example, I rushed to catch the bus, or she rushed to finish her homework. "This is a disaster" is an expression we use when everything goes wrong at the same time. It's often used dramatically about situations that aren't actually that serious. A pantry is a small room or cabinet where you store dry foods like cereal, pasta, canned goods, and other non-perishable items. Understanding these everyday expressions will help you talk naturally about your morning routine and breakfast habits in English.